I don't think most people are addicted to their phones, at least not in the way we usually imagine addiction. Most people aren't waking up excited to spend 6 hours scrolling through videos they'll forget tomorrow. They aren't proud of how often they check their notifications. In fact, if you ask them how much time they spend on their phone, they'll usually say the same thing. I should probably use it less. That sentence has become strangely normal. Almost everyone says it. Almost nobody is surprised by it anymore. The strange part is that we've accepted something that would have sounded unbelievable 20 years ago. The average person now carries a device that can interrupt their thoughts, conversations, meals, and even their sleep, and we've stopped noticing how unusual that really is. Picture someone sitting down to watch a movie they've been excited about all week. The lights are off, the movie starts, everything is quiet. Then, about 15 minutes in, their phone vibrates. Without thinking, they pick it up. It isn't an emergency, it isn't even important. Maybe it's just a meme, a notification. Someone liked an old photo. They look for 3 seconds. Then they put the phone down and continue watching. Except something has changed. They're still watching the movie, but part of their attention never really came back. I didn't notice this until I started paying attention to myself. Sometimes I'd pause a film to check my phone. Not because I needed to. Because my brain expected something to happen. Nothing usually did. I'd unlock my phone, look around for a few seconds, realize there was nothing there, lock it again, then somehow repeat the exact same thing 10 minutes later. It almost felt automatic, like my hands had learned a routine before my mind had agreed to it. At first, I thought this was just a lack of discipline. That seemed like the obvious explanation. People just needed more self-control. But then something changed. I started noticing that incredibly disciplined people did it too. Students studying for important exams, business owners, parents, friends who barely use social media. Everyone had moments where they reached for their phone without really deciding to. That made me wonder if something deeper was happening. Maybe this wasn't only about willpower. Maybe it was about habit. Our brains love patterns. If a certain action has been repeated enough times, it slowly becomes the default response. You hear a notification, you check, you feel bored, you unlock your phone, you stand in a queue, you start scrolling. After hundreds or thousands of repetitions, those actions stop feeling like decisions. They start feeling like reflexes. That's one of the fascinating things about habits. The less you notice them, the stronger they often become. But that's not the biggest change I think our phones have created. Something even stranger happens. Imagine you're waiting for a friend at a cafe. They're running 10 minutes late. 10 years ago, you probably would have looked around the room, watched people walking outside, thought about something random, maybe you'd even get bored. Today, almost nobody gets bored. The moment waiting appears, the phone comes out. The moment silence arrives, we fill it. The moment we're alone with our thoughts, we interrupt them. I still catch myself doing this. I'll be waiting for food at a restaurant. There's nothing to do for 2 minutes. Instead of simply sitting there, my hand reaches for my pocket almost automatically. Not because I'm expecting important news, just because empty moments have started feeling incomplete. That realization made me a little uncomfortable. Because maybe the phone isn't just changing what we pay attention to. Maybe it's changing what we expect every moment of life to feel like. When I was younger, boredom felt different. I remember long car rides where there wasn't much to do. You looked out of the window, you noticed strange buildings, clouds, people walking home, your mind wandered. Sometimes you imagined conversations that never happened. Sometimes you remembered something from years ago for absolutely no reason. It wasn't exciting. But it was strangely alive. Now, boredom barely has a chance to exist. The second it appears, we replace it. One swipe, one video, another recommendation, another notification. Convenience solved the problem of boredom, but I wonder if it quietly took something else with it. Because boredom isn't just empty time. Sometimes it's where curiosity begins. Sometimes it's where ideas appear. Sometimes it's where your brain finally has enough silence to process everything you've been avoiding all day. If every quiet moment gets interrupted, where does all that thinking go? Maybe that's why so many people say they feel mentally exhausted. Not because they're constantly doing difficult work, but because their attention never truly gets a chance to rest. Think about the average day. You wake up and check your phone. Messages, weather, news, social media, you go to work or school. Your attention jumps between conversations, emails, notifications, videos, music, and group chats. Then you get home. Instead of slowing down, you open the same device that's been asking for your attention since the moment you woke up. It's almost like asking your brain to run one long marathon without ever leaving the track. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think our biggest problem is that we use our phones too much. I think we've slowly forgotten what it feels like to experience a moment without expecting to be interrupted. And I can't help wondering what happens to a person when every quiet space in their life slowly disappears. I don't think the answer is obvious. At first, it seems harmless. You check your phone while brushing your teeth, you watch videos while eating lunch, you listen to a podcast while walking, music while showering, a show before bed. None of those things seem like a problem on their own. The strange part is what happens when they all begin stacking on top of each other. Eventually, there are almost no moments left where you're simply with yourself. I didn't notice this until one evening when my Wi-Fi stopped working. No videos, no social media, no endless scrolling. For the first few minutes, I kept picking up my phone anyway. Unlock, lock, unlock again. It was almost funny. I wasn't checking anything, I was checking the possibility that there might be something. That made me realize something uncomfortable. Sometimes we're not looking for information, we're looking for interruption. Picture someone finishing a difficult day at work or school. They're mentally exhausted. The second they get home, they collapse onto the sofa and open TikTok. 30 minutes disappear, then an hour. Eventually, they close the app. For a brief moment, the room is silent. And suddenly, all the thoughts they avoided start coming back. The assignment they haven't started. The awkward conversation they keep replaying. The uncertainty about the future. So they open the app again. Not because they're still entertained. Because they aren't ready to meet their own thoughts. I think that's a very different experience from simply wasting time. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think many of us aren't escaping boredom. We're escaping ourselves. Those aren't the same thing. There's another pattern I keep noticing. Someone sits down to reply to one message. Before they know it, they've checked Instagram, then YouTube, then their email, then the weather, then a football score they weren't even thinking about 30 seconds earlier. 5 different apps, 5 different conversations, 5 different worlds, all within 2 minutes. The interesting part isn't that we do this, it's that we've become so used to it that it no longer feels unusual. Our attention has become incredibly comfortable switching between things, but I wonder if comfort comes with a cost. Deep conversations need attention. Books need attention. Friendships need attention. Even understanding yourself needs attention. If your mind has learned to expect something new every few seconds, staying with one thing can quietly become more difficult. Not impossible, just unfamiliar. I remember hearing someone describe their attention as itchy. I thought that was a strange word. Then I understood exactly what they meant. They'd sit down to watch a 20-minute video. After 5 minutes, they felt an urge to check something else. Not because the video was boring, just because their brain expected novelty. That word stayed with me. Itchy, maybe that's what constant stimulation does. It teaches us that every moment should contain something new. And when reality doesn't change as quickly as our screens do, reality starts feeling slow. Not because life became less interesting, because our expectations quietly sped up. But something even stranger happens. The phone doesn't only compete with our attention, it begins competing with real life itself. Imagine you're having dinner with your family. Someone tells a funny story. Everyone laughs. Then, one phone lights up. Someone glances at it. Another person checks theirs too. Within seconds, the conversation loses its rhythm. Nobody planned for that to happen. Nobody even notices it happening. It's almost invisible. Tiny interruptions rarely feel important on their own. But relationships aren't built through one big conversation. They're built through thousands of uninterrupted little ones. Maybe that's why some interactions feel different now. Not worse, just thinner, less eye contact, less curiosity, less patience. We're physically together, but part of everyone's attention is waiting for something happening somewhere else. I still catch myself doing this. Someone will be talking to me and I'll feel my phone vibrate. Even if I don't pick it up, part of my brain has already left the conversation. I'm wondering who it is, whether it's important, whether I should reply. The notification lasts 1 second. Its effect lasts much longer. That surprised me. Because distraction doesn't always happen when you check your phone. Sometimes it happens the moment your brain starts expecting it. At first, I thought this only affected focus. But then something changed. I started wondering if it also changes memory. Think about your last week. How much of it do you genuinely remember? Not the headlines, not the videos, not the memes, your actual life. The walk you took, the conversation that made you smile, the meal you really enjoyed. For many of us, those memories feel strangely blurry. Maybe that's just adulthood. Or maybe memories need attention before they can become memories. If half of your attention is somewhere else while a moment is happening, maybe that moment never has the chance to fully stay with you. That idea fascinates me because it means presence isn't only about enjoying life more, it might also be how we remembered that we lived it in the first place. Maybe that's the biggest thing our phones are changing. Not our intelligence, not our personality, our relationship with the present moment. The present used to be where life happened. Now it's often just a space between notifications. And if that's true, then there's one more question that I think matters even more. If our phones have quietly changed the way we experience our days, what kind of person do those days slowly shape us into? I don't think anyone wakes up one morning as a completely different person. Change rarely feels dramatic while it's happening. It's usually so small that you don't notice it until you look back. One missed conversation. One interrupted meal. One evening spent scrolling instead of sleeping. None of those moments seem important on their own. But then they happen again and again. And one day you realize they've become your normal. That's the strange thing about habits. They don't ask for permission to become part of your identity. They just quietly repeat themselves until they feel like who you are. I remember seeing a child sitting in a waiting room with their parents. For a few minutes, they simply looked around. They watched people walking past. They asked questions about everything. Why is that clock so big? Why does that man look sad? What happens behind that door? Their curiosity seemed endless. Then their parent handed them a phone. Within seconds, the room disappeared. The questions stopped. The waiting stopped. The curiosity stopped. Now, I'm not saying children should never use phones. That's not the point. What stayed with me was how quickly a whole world disappeared the moment a screen appeared. And then I caught myself doing the adult version of the exact same thing. Standing in a queue. Waiting for a friend. Riding in a taxi. The moment reality slowed down, I reached for my phone. Maybe we don't lose our curiosity all at once. Maybe we slowly replace it with convenience. At first, I thought the biggest thing our phones were stealing was time. People always talk about screen time. 5 hours, 7 hours, 9 hours. But then something changed. I started thinking less about the hours themselves and more about the way those hours feel. 2 hours spent talking to someone you love doesn't feel the same as 2 hours endlessly switching between apps. The clock says they're equal. Your mind doesn't. One leaves you feeling connected, the other often leaves you wondering where the evening went. Time isn't only measured by minutes, it's also measured by memory. And the days we remember most are rarely the days we spent refreshing the same screen. There's another moment I think we've all experienced. You're talking to someone. Halfway through the conversation, they glance at their phone. Maybe only for 2 seconds. They look back and say, "Sorry, keep going." Technically, they didn't stop listening, but something changed. For just a moment, you felt less important than whatever appeared on that screen. It's such a small moment, yet almost everyone understands that feeling. What's interesting is that we often do the exact same thing without realizing it. Not because we don't care about the person in front of us, because we've trained ourselves to believe that every notification deserves immediate attention. Maybe that's one of the quietest ways our phones have changed us. They've slowly taught us that the possibility of something happening somewhere else is often more important than what's happening right here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe every generation has had something that distracted them. Television, newspapers, video games. Every generation probably worried that the next one was losing something. But I think phones are different in one important way. They don't just entertain us, they accompany us. They're with us when we wake up. They're with us while we eat, while we walk, while we work, while we wait. They're often the last thing we see before we sleep and the first thing we see the next morning. When something spends that much time beside you, it doesn't just occupy your attention. It quietly shapes your habits. And habits have a funny way of shaping people. I don't think the answer is to throw your phone away. Most of us couldn't even if we wanted to. Our phones help us work, learn, navigate, stay in touch with people we care about. Technology isn't the villain, it's the relationship we've slowly built with it that deserves a closer look. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if we treated our phones more like tools and less like places. Because for many of us, the phone isn't just something we use anymore, it's where we go. When we're bored, when we're lonely, when we're anxious, when we don't know what else to do. It becomes a destination instead of an object. And maybe that's why putting it down can feel strangely uncomfortable. Not because we missed the device, because we suddenly have to meet the version of ourselves that was waiting underneath all the scrolling. I still catch myself reaching for my phone during moments that don't need filling. Waiting for the kettle to boil, walking from one room to another, sitting in the car before getting out. They're tiny moments. Most people would never notice them. But I've started wondering what those little moments used to be. Maybe they were moments where we looked out of the window, where an unexpected idea appeared, where we replayed a conversation, where we simply existed without trying to escape the silence. Those moments seemed insignificant until they disappeared. At the beginning of this video, I said that I don't think most people are addicted to their phones. I think the truth is a little more complicated than that. I think many of us are slowly adapting to a world that constantly asks for our attention. And human beings are remarkably good at adapting. Sometimes that's our greatest strength. Sometimes it's the reason we stop noticing what's changing us. We adapt to constant notifications. We adapt to never being bored. We adapt to checking our phones without thinking. Eventually, what once felt unusual starts feeling completely normal. That's probably the most powerful kind of change. The kind you barely notice while it's happening. Maybe that's the thought I want to leave you with. Your phone isn't changing you because it's evil. It's changing you because whatever repeatedly receives your attention slowly shapes the way you experience the world. Attention is quiet. It doesn't feel important in the moment, but over weeks, months, and years, it becomes your memories, your relationships, your habits, even the story you tell yourself about your own life. And maybe that's why the smallest moments matter more than we think. The few seconds before you instinctively unlock your phone. The conversation where you stay fully present. The walk where you notice the world instead of your screen. Not because those moments will suddenly transform your life overnight, but because life has always been built from ordinary moments. The strange part is, those ordinary moments were never missing. We just got very good at looking somewhere else. And sometimes, the biggest change doesn't begin with finding something new. Sometimes it begins by finally noticing what has been quietly in front of us all along.